Good morning and welcome to Daily Cyber Briefing for Tuesday, the 21st of October. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Well, you won't have missed it, but yesterday's AWS outage caused major disruption. It's now been mitigated and services are back up and running. And as far as I am aware, stability's been restored and things should be more or less acting as normal. So what do we know about this? So it doesn't look like it was anything to do with a cyber attack. It looks like in one particular region, so US East 1 region, which is hosted in Northern Virginia, there was a DNS resolution problem for its DynamoDB service. So DynamoDB handles database queries for all sorts of things. It's used by pretty much everybody that had issues one way or another yesterday, all the major services that were affected by this. In the background, there's some component that's using DynamoDB. And as we have been aware for 20, 30 longer years, DNS is one of the major reasons for outage. So the services still exist, but if you can't identify where they are, you can't use them. So we don't know what yet, or at least I've not been able to see yet, what caused the DNS issues. But that took out DynamoDB in that one region. Now, what is very interesting is that the outage services through. Let's try that again in English. The outages that were seen went well beyond services that you would have thought were hosted in US East 1. Which goes to show that for a lot of services, there are dependencies, and understanding the dependencies is quite important. And I'm certain that there will be a surprisingly large number of organizations that are looking at their tech teams at the moment saying, hang on, how come we host all our stuff in Europe, let's say, but we were affected by an outage in US East 1? Well, two reasons there might be for that. One is that AWS may be being a little economical with the truth about the scope of the issue, or it may well be that whilst you believe your data is hosted in Europe, some of the services that you're running are reliant on components that are not running in the same region that your data is hosted. Entirely possible. There's a lot more to designing secure cloud architecture than you would think. You do need to consider these aspects, but where things are is quite important. And also then thinking about from a resilience perspective, you should, as part of your BCP planning, and your disaster recovery being the technical ability to recover from an incident that has business continuity issues, fundamentally. So your disaster recovery plans need to consider regional issues. So I've been through this years ago working in finance. Regional issues would be the Russians have dropped a nuclear bomb on London and it's taken out the southeast of England. Has that affected your ability to deliver financial services? Well, you need to mitigate those kind of things. So now I think we need to also add into that, well, what AWS calls regions are geographic regions. So they are going to be subject to disasters at a geographic level, floods, fires, those sorts of things. But also it means that you've now got to think about the fact that certain services are contained in certain regions, and if those regions supporting services and cloud supporting services go down, have you got an out-of-region solution? You may also wish to consider whether you want to have a multi-cloud solution, and if you are going to do that, you need to understand whether there are any dependencies between your cloud providers. So you're basically looking for single points of failure, and it does look that like a large number of organizations that really should know better had found themselves with a single point of failure based around a single region in AWS. Certainly one to think about. So on different matters, I have well, at least a passing interest in slightly esoteric ways in which technology can be subverted by attackers in order to gain access to and do, execute on their objectives. Things like they can read your screen through a wall, or your mouse can, your mouse picks up vibrations from the desk when somebody's speaking, and that can be used to reconstruct text, all that sort of stuff. Well, here's one that isn't quite so esoteric, but is actually probably more common and more likely to be attacked. Your car can provide a BYOD risk. So there's some interesting research which is summarized in a dark reading article, which we will link to the briefing. Your car connects to your phone, or your phone connects to your car. Okay. Your phone then walks into your office, assuming first of all that you have a car which is modern enough that your phone links to it, and that you go to an office. You're not wholly home working, although to be honest, the concept would still work as an entry point. So how do you get an entry point to the inside of a network? Well, a phone is a really good way of doing that. As generally, they sit in your pocket, but they connect to networks, including potentially corporate networks, and as you're an employee, you may well find that your personal phone connects to a corporate Wi-Fi network rather than a guest Wi-Fi network. Not unheard of. In fact, actually more common, we find, than it probably should be. So how does this attack work? Well, phones connect to cars using Bluetooth. So this particular attack starts by targeting that short period of time when the driver's got into the car, but the phone hasn't yet connected to Bluetooth in the car. So all you need to do is spoof the car in such a way that the phone connects to your spoofed device rather than connecting to the car. How easy is that to do? Well, you only need to make sure it doesn't connect directly to the car and then force it to pop up something that is a sort of manual connection type thing. So you need to have a Bluetooth device that resembles, let's say, a Tesla, as in this particular article. Once you have got the phone to connect to a device that you control, then you can use all the usual tools in order to compromise the phone, because the core technical security control for a phone is that it won't connect to things that you don't expect it to connect to, not that there are particularly solid protections once it has connected. So you can relatively quickly get shells on the phone, so on and so forth, and install your own malware onto the phone. The user then carries the phone into the corporate network, connects up, and your malware is then on the inside of that particular corporation. So this particular, I thought when I started reading this that it was going to be another case of cars are particularly easy to hack, so you infect the car infects the phone. Excuse me. However, It does look even simpler than that. You rely on the fact that the phone tries to connect to the car, but you connect it directly to the an attacker-controlled device. Very interesting article, and certainly something that is worth thinking about from the point of view of unusual but probably quite exploitable vulnerabilities in architecture that could result in a breach into your corporate. Well, of course, once you're on the corporate network, then it's possible to do all the usual sorts of things. You can spoof, spoof employees requesting things at the help desk, password changes, so on and so forth. You can send very realistic-looking emails instructing finance to pay invoices, and all the usual sort of stuff, or simply just drop a bit of ransomware in there and cause chaos. So definitely something to be thinking about if you are, and it would work, of course, if you don't work from an office but you carry your phone back into your home and you've got access to your business systems via your laptop at home, which remote working very common these days. So there's still an entry point there. Makes interesting reading. How do you mitigate it? Well, one of the best ways you can mitigate it is by having a mobile device management strategy, which comes with a whole host of its own challenges based around corporate access to personal data on phones. Dubiously, but probably legal in the UK, definitely not in some other parts of Europe. And then finally from me today, a little bit of sad news if you are using secure, or you like to use secure DNS services, and you are based in the European Union. DNS, I think it's DNS0, but it could be DNS0.EU. Private DNS service is shutting down over sustainability services. It has been going since, I think it's been going about 10 years, perhaps a little bit less, 8-10 years. It is a solid infrastructure based out of France, but with servers in most, if not all, European Union countries, that provides secure DNS services. So firstly, it is a recursive resolver. It's free. It's GDPR compliant. It supports DNS over HTTPS, TLS, quick, and over HTTP/3. 62 servers in 27 cities. It allows for child safety focused filters. It can filter for privacy and ads and so on and so forth. However, the maintainers of the solution have put up a post on their website saying, basically, for logistical reasons, time and effort and resourcing reasons, they're no longer able to continue. So if you are using that particular service, be aware you need to change your DNS resolvers to be pointing to something else. They make a couple of recommendations. They recommend DNS0.EU and NextDNS, both of which provide privacy-focused, secure DNS services, again with a focus on the EU and Europe. So there are alternatives out there, but don't be caught on the hop with this, because as we've just seen, if DNS breaks, all sorts of things that would otherwise be perfectly workable stop happening. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. So that's all from me for today. Hope you have